All right, today we're talking about tipping. And I already know this video is going to be a controversial one. If it's anything like the last video on tipping, the comments are going to be quite divided. Before I get started, to be fair, tipping did start out with good intentions. A little extra went a long way when you had some great service. It was simple, voluntary, and appreciated. But somewhere along the way, it got completely out of hand. And now it feels like a guilt trip is attached to seemingly every single transaction we make nowadays. Self-checkout, online orders, even coffee that you've poured yourself, it doesn't matter. If there is a screen in front of you, somebody wants 30% of something. And my question to you is, at which point did tipping become a mandatory tax that none of us asked for? We've got a lot of videos to get into today, and it honestly only ramps up in intensity from here on out.
We knew you weren't going to tip, but don't worry, we did it for you. So I come to this restaurant pretty often, and I never leave a tip when I come here, but I guess they must have caught on because they charged me a frequent non-tipper charge, $12.90. I'm guessing that's around 20%, but tipping is optional, and they put these messages on my receipt. This waitress has some nerve. I'm going to leave a negative tip because this just isn't right. She literally gave me the tip and wrote this message saying,
to put on a frequent non-tipper fee is truly diabolical. If you recognize this person and recognize that they don't tip, you know, we can just tell people that they're not allowed to come in anymore. Literally illegal, by the way. There's no legal way, at least in the United States, to do that, where you put a fee, a hidden fee somewhere on your receipt. If it's on the menu, there's an asterisk. Typically they'll be like, you can expect to see, you know, an employee welfare fee, which again, just raise your prices, but I'm not in the restaurant business. You decided to get into the restaurant business where the profit margins are actually abysmal. That really shouldn't be the customer's fault, but I understand we're trying to subsidize it in some sort of way. Okay. If a tip isn't optional, it's not a tip. Exactly when I was talking at the beginning of this video here, when did tips become basically just a mandatory tax for wanting to go out to a restaurant? Abysmal behavior by this restaurant.
Culture in America is wild. And I'm starting to understand the tactics that they use at checkout. Every time I come to checkout and the tip option pops up, they throw in a compliment. Oh my God, you look so cute. Oh my God, I love your hair. Your nails are so nice. And I used to fall for it before and feel so guilty. I always add a tip, even though I think it's so unnecessary if I'm grabbing coffee to go. Like, why am I tipping you? If I'm having coffee at the coffee shop, I will absolutely tip you. But if I'm grabbing my coffee to go, there's like absolutely no need. But I get times are tough and like whatever. So like I always tip. But now I'm like, don't play these games with me.
If I'm grabbing coffee to go, it's insane. Charge me a little more and pay your employees a little bit more. Again, will people go to those places? I think so. I do seriously think people would still go to those places.
As soon as my olive oil was delayed, I'm like, I'm not tipping.
So you decide when you didn't get the olive oil, you're like, I'm not tipping it.
Correct.
So I'll bring you an olive oil.
I'm doing you a favor. If I tip, your service is gonna know that they can be slow. If the service is not up to par,
Nobody tips.
I don't tip. Why should I leave? Why should I leave a tip?
But the tip is included. I think like, I go to Paris.
Yes,
Florence,
exactly.
The tip is included.
Yeah, okay.
So here it's not included. So you have to leave something.
In Europe, the tip is not included in the price we give tips for good service. Exactly. In Europe, I have never had anyone like go above and beyond or even treat me as if it's, you know, like American service. Now, I'm not expecting you to be like super smiley and stuff, but if I'm trying to flag down a person for a check for, I think one time I was just like, okay, maybe they're busy. My waiter went off to go on a break. I'm trying to flag different people down for around 15, 20 minutes just to pay my bill. I'm not going to tip you if you can't even let me leave the establishment when I would like to leave. It feels like I'm being held hostage. Americans, if the tip has to be compulsory, why not just include it in the price of the food and raise the server's wage? They actually did studies where they would have two identical restaurants, one with 20% more expensive food, but no expectation to tip, and the other with normal prices plus tip expected. The restaurant with traditional prices and tip expectation was much busier, and the customers found the restaurant where you didn't have to tip to be too expensive and preferred the traditionally priced one. Have you ever noticed that yourself? And I'm going to say I would be guilty to this study too. There are places that I have not gone to because there is that additional fee where you don't have to tip, right? The food is much more expensive but it is a better quality of food because there is a certain sort of vibe that I'm looking for. And plus, at those sorts of restaurants where you're not expected to tip, you can just order takeout and not tip them, right? You can order online and not tip the person.
I'm literally at the airport at the self-checkout machine buying a water. Self-checkout. Who is this even going to? Like,
right, like that is the same. I think this might be the same airport. Hopefully it's just in that same airport. If this is at different airports, diabolical behavior.
Man, fuck tipping culture, bro. I just went to a frozen yogurt spot. Bro, he turns the iPad around. It's 18, 20, or 25% tip. Like, bitch, I filled up my own Froyo cup. What do you mean you need a tip? You ain't getting that fucking tip. You need to do shit, buddy.
Yeah, bud. How about a car wash? They be asking for tips. A tip for what? Machine doing all the work? So if you're a European in America, at least when I've been around in the Czech Republic or, you know, other places, the car wash, you get out and like manually wash your car. In America, it's literally like you drive in and then put your car in neutral. And there's this big machine, it locks you in. It's basically like a dishwasher, but it's a car washer for your car. And it's no one in there doing it. Sometimes there will be a hybrid machine where it's washing your car and then at the end, someone will come in and then spray down your tires. But typically nowadays, it's all automated by just the big car wash machine building. So asking for a tip for that is, again, why? No, there was no human hand in it. Waiting 20 minutes for our appetizer because teens don't tip. Teens don't tip because y'all don't give them service because of the stupid vision that you have of every teenager. To be fair, teenagers aren't the best people in the world. They're still, you know, growing, but most teenagers I've met, even, you know, are they Gen Alpha now, right? They're very sweet and polite kids. I don't know if they're good tippers, but also, I mean, they don't have money. It doesn't mean you can't be nice to the kids. They're kids.
I feel like tipping culture is becoming like a very big talk right now. And here's all I'm gonna say. I cannot wait for the day that Americans start getting treated like European customers. Because the whole allure of tips is that the service is sensational. That's the motivation and driving factor behind tips, is that service, and servers will be kinder to you. They'll be more proactive. But when you take that away and servers start getting a, you know, hourly tip or hourly wage, which is what you guys want, maybe that service is gonna plummet. If you take away my tips, then I'm not going to modify your food. I'm not memorizing allergens. I'm not refilling your drink unless you ask. Okay, so let's go back to that. I'm not memorizing allergens. That's fine, but as long as you're going to actually consider the allergens so people don't die. There's a difference between, you know, good customer service, haha, cheery, versus someone dying at the establishment or going into anaphylactic shock. For those of you, and I know on my Airbnb host or delusional video, there was this woman who was just filling up random soap, and you're like, yeah, if it's an almond soap and it's not clearly labeled, I could, you know, perish or something bad could happen to my skin because I'm allergic to stuff. So that's diabolical to say. Okay, let's carry on here. I'm not packing your leftovers up for you. You don't need to do that, but in Europe they do that. In some places in Europe they do that. I've had my leftovers packed up for me. I'm not giving you a free birthday dessert with a candle. I think they're like, is this not corporate policy? If there's, you know, a free birthday, if you have a birthday, then they're going to do something with, you know, like a slice of cake or a cupcake, something small to show appreciation. Or is that up to the waiter, like, or is that up to the server's discretion? Is that not something that you get with your, like if you sign up for an email and then they're like, oh, get a free birthday ice cream at Baskin Robbins or a cake at the Chili's or something like that? Or is it up to the server's discretion? Let me know. Let me know if I'm correct on that. I'm not taking a group picture of your family. I'm not pre-bussing dirty dishes off of your table. I'm not answering questions like, what is dill? Is the soup just broth with stuff in it? And I'm not having the kitchen remake items you don't like. So the only thing I've ever experienced is I'm not having the kitchen remake items you don't like. But it's not even don't like, it like just was not prepared. Again, that beef broth story when it was just beef fat, it was just gross. And then they got a poor review for me. Like I gave you a chance to rectify the situation, and then if less customers go to your restaurant, then you don't get paid. I mean, I guess you would get paid at the end of the day, minimum wage. But let me know what you think about this comment. I thought that was absolutely diabolical, especially the I'm not going to modify your food, you know, memorize the allergens so you're not dying at this establishment. That's kind of criminal behavior in my opinion, like at minimum a misdemeanor offense. Me and my salary are too European to tip for every frickin' service. In Italy, for a 20%
20% tip, the waiters would have to limbo if you ask. That's incredible because 20% tip is expected minimum standard. I was used to 10% being the bare minimum standard for a tip. Of course, 0 if the service was truly abysmal or you're taking your food to go. In Italy and Europe, yes, a 20% tip is not expected unless you're probably in Rome right next to the Colosseum. I tip 20% when I'm in the US. I don't eat out very often, but it is so annoying that some Americans frame it as a cultural thing when it's so clearly a symptom of underpaying workers. I agree. And it's also a symptom that people don't want to really correct, especially the servers, because they will make so much money off of tips. If I made what came out to be $25 an hour versus, oh, we're gonna make it a standard $18 an hour, of course you're gonna rather do the jive and dance for $25 an hour than, I guess, doing normal work, just your job, right, for 18 bucks an hour. I don't know. If there are any servers out here, let me know what qualms you have with either what I'm saying or what these comments are saying. It's good to understand each other's perspective, as I have never been a server, but I have worked at a restaurant where they did have tips and I was just taking orders on like the little POS system. In Italy, if you gave me a 10 euro tip, next time you came in, I would treat you like royalty. Yeah, that would not happen. No one's gonna remember you for a $10 tip on like a $30 tab probably here in the States.
Oh, but they don't tip in Europe. We shouldn't have to pay for you guys to survive. No one checks on you when you're in Europe. And that's how it should be, right? But Americans would have an absolute aneurysm if someone didn't give them 7 refills of Diet Coke. Or all of those refills they're charged for. Pick a struggle, babe. Yesterday I was in Malaga and we decided to go wander around the streets. We were sitting down at lunch and I asked the waiter for the check. Mind you, I had to flag him down for the check, which is very, very normal in Europe. It's not rude or disrespectful, it's just the expectation. You want to know how long we waited for the check? 20 minutes. Do you know the absolute tailspin that Americans would go into if they had to wait 20 minutes for anything? I've had people yell at me for their food not coming out in 5 minutes. Mind you, I don't make the food. Yes, they pay their restaurant workers a livable wage a lot of the times, but you guys would not be able to handle not being checked on every 5 minutes. I'm just being so for real, given my experience. And also, watching the Americans around me while I travel tweak out because they're not getting top tier service. I watched a couple the other day at the same restaurant I was at get mad at the waiter because they couldn't take cheese out of a quesadilla.
If someone would check on me in a restaurant every 5 minutes, I would leave. It is kind of annoying. That used to be a running joke. I haven't experienced that in a long time where people are constantly checking on your table in America. Maybe it's because I don't go to those kinds of restaurants. I'm mostly going to the brand name restaurants that everyone knows. We tip in Europe, but tipping is not mandatory here. It's voluntary. We have waiters, not servants. And going to restaurants is usually a chill experience. You're there for your enjoyment, not just your food. Yeah. You seem so confused. Why are they asking me for tips? Tipping should be banned on self-service kiosks. There is no reason to ask for a tip when you're picking stuff up. I don't know how many times I have to say that, but as many times as I need to get that into everyone's skull, I guess.
What in the American machine just for tipping in Europe?
Oh my goodness. I've never seen that little wheel, and I've been in Europe for quite a while, but I did not realize like 50 euro cents. 50 cents or 50 cents for in euros here. That's not too bad. It depends again on what this person ordered. I don't believe tipping should be a thing in Europe unless it's for a big party of people, because, and I've been to a few countries I've been to 3 different countries. So Czech Republic, Albania, and Bulgaria. The service is really just you sit down, order your food, they bring it, and they don't ask anything additional. They don't do any sort of additional stuff for you. Money is straight into the owner's account and not the actual staff. Haha. Not haha. Not very funny, is it? That is probably one of the only places to have that, because never in my life have I heard of such a thing. And these comments are from 2022, so a lot can change in 4 years. Jeez, I can't even believe what COVID was almost at 7 years ago now. Time has really flown by.
No. Hasta luego. Ever since I've been here in Spain and I don't have to tip, it feels so weird just paying, walking out. It feels rude. Over there in US, I promise you, bro, I think they just put the tip on the receipt no matter what. They don't even ask. It's not even a tip anymore. they just put that 18% charge just because. So ever since I've been here in Spain and I don't tip and I just go, it feels rude. I definitely would, but people told me don't do it because...
And also, the Spaniards, their salaries are not as high as American salaries, right? So in Spain, that's why they're getting all up in arms too with, you know, Airbnb businesses, because you're raising the price. Foreigners, tourists are raising the price for these sort of things. So in order to keep food at a normal price for the locals, do not tip unless you know, Google beforehand where tips are expected. Like some places, if there is good service, they'll be like 10% max, don't tip anymore, otherwise you're inflating what people expect. And also then they're going to expect from, you know, the Americans, like, oh, you're just a terrible American for not tipping, stuff like that. But it is kind of weird to go into like a hole in the wall restaurant where it's just like, you know, I need Google Translate in order for the menu. I pay, they're not even asking for a tip. Some places too in Europe, and I give them automatically 5 stars or leave that as a review, is when you order something and there is a tip screen that comes up and then they just hit no tip and then and hand you the card reader. They're like, why would you tip me? Now, those places I really appreciate. This is wrong. In Spain, we tip, not like in the US. I can't stand when people are like, but it's Spain and people still work, and some of them are doing a great job. Yeah, my fault. I was told it was rude if you tried to tip. And not all of Spain, like not all of America, is the same tipping wise. I'm sure it varies from city to city. So it could have been correct in wherever he was for that Spanish city to not tip, or it would be seen as rude. Like in Japan, maybe he's mixing up Japan and Spain, where in Japan it is rude to not leave a tip, or it is rude to leave a tip.
I make in a week as a server who only serves 3 shifts a week unless she picks up extra shifts. Last night was Tuesday. I did pick a shift up at the restaurant. I worked from 4 o'clock to 10:15. My total sales for the night were $2,194.93. And after tipping out support staff, I made 100, 253, 20, 40, 60, 84, 20, 40, 60, 85, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. $508 for Tuesday. There was only 2 servers on. It was super busy. We were nonstop all night. Night was Sunday. I worked a shift from 4 to 9. My total sales for the night were $1,345.50. And after tipping out support staff, I made 20, 40, 60, 81, 20, 40, 60, 82, 20, 40, 60, 83, 25. $325 for Sunday. For the week, I made $2,271. This week was such a good week, and I did pick up an extra 4 shifts, so that's why I did make a little bit more than I typically do, but I'm so grateful for the industry that I work in, and I'll see you for next week's videos.
Let's see how much money I made on my 5-hour shift. First up, the bill was $45.80, and I got tipped $15. This bill was $310.99, and they left me $63. Ugh. This bill was $299.27, and they only left me $50.58. My biggest check of the night was $781.72, and they tipped me $160. So tonight on my 5-hour shift, I made $720, but our tip out is crazy, so I'm actually only leaving with $438.
I just realized when I go to Dutch Bros and they don't ask for a tip, it's because they tip themselves. 20% is crazy. Girl, I work at Dutch Bros and you can get fired for doing that. You should definitely talk to management there. Yeah, girl, it sounds like you're being scammed or, you know, frauded in some way. I feel bad. She probably needs it more than I do, but I will mention it today when I go. Yeah, you should probably mention that because that's diabolical. Is that why my drink is always different prices? Wow, I'm mad now. Yeah, you probably have to check. So have you guys ever realized on your receipt that you gave a tip when you never pressed the little tip button? If you like content like this, I post a video every week, so hit that subscribe button if you want to see more. Now let's get into the video. This is how quick I drive. This is how quick I hit that no tip button for any drive-through spot. Tips should just be appreciated in the drive-through. Tips should never, ever, ever be expected in a drive-through. The whole point of a drive. Now, if you're asking for all this crap and making their times go up like a long time, right? So if you've never worked in a drive-through, I have, let me tell you the story here. There is a screen and it's in big numbers, right? The time, and it's ticking up and it'll be in green and then yellow for some places and then red for when you're taking too long for an order. And then people get mad at you, typically your managers, because it comes down to them and then they have to punish you, the staff. So that I can understand maybe giving them a tip, but again, that that is not a requirement. It is not mandatory to do that at a drive-thru, and it never should be. I hope that never becomes a thing. Sorry, I am not tipping because all they did was click buttons. Exactly. And you're wasting gas in the drive-thru. Sure, you're being lazier sitting and ordering in your car, never even getting out. They're still doing their job at the end of the day, right? Like, I was still doing my job in a drive-thru. I work EMS and nobody ever gives me a 20% tip for bringing their pulse back. I think the drink you made me that took you 30 seconds to make can be paid for by your employer, not me. And before y'all say I make more than y'all, I don't. I make $14 an hour. Again, our emergency medical service people do not make enough money. If you work in an ambulance, right? You're doing the wee driving and you're protecting people. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make this a little bit more lighthearted after, you know, bringing someone's pulse back to life. You should get tips. They should be giving you bonuses at the hospital. If bare minimum, you should be making double $14 an hour. You should be making at least $28 an hour. There is no reason, especially when that little ride for us, the people paying for medical services, can be a couple hundred to thousands of dollars for that one ride. And you can't give our EMS people actual money for them. We need EMS more than we need, food workers, right? That is truly a necessity. Only in America. So it looks like she's in an airport. She's at an airport kiosk where you buy your own stuff and scan your own stuff here. And now it's asking for this $2 water for a tip.
For what?
And again, a tip for what? Why is it starting at 15, 20%? Why is it starting at 18% for a tip on something you scanned yourself and you're just walking out of? There is no food being made here. And even if there was food being made, for me personally, if I'm ordering at a kiosk, I'm not tipping. Sorry, I'm not tipping. I'm not tipping unless you're serving me and then, doing the whole water thing, I'm asking for more stuff. Okay, fine, I will be tipping. But if I'm ordering at a kiosk and then I'm taking my ASS out of this restaurant, I'm not tipping. If you do tip for those services, good for you, but you're not making it easier on the rest of us here. For what? And for who? Exactly. Who is getting that tip when no one is manning the cash register? The tipping culture has gotten way out of control. The only places I tip are at restaurants. Again, and then there's like other services, right? And you might roast me in the comments here, but I don't like paying a tip for professional services such as at a salon. Again, people in beauty services are going to roast me. That is completely fine. At a salon, at a nail salon, hair salon, at a barber. Like, am I tipping the cable guy, the internet guy when he comes to set up my internet, those services? Am I tipping the person who brought my pulse back to life? This is literally, why are we tipping our lash techs when that's literally what you do day in and day out? I understand this is a very controversial video, but I personally don't think that's right. Just price. Typically you are an entrepreneur, right? If you're in those services or you're a part of a certain salon, but especially if you're on your own and you're expecting a tip from your client, that for me is kind of diabolical, right? When you set your own hours and set your own schedule and your prices. But if maybe you're getting your dog groomed at the Petco groomer, like at the pet shop groomer, whatever, the big box pet places, and getting them groomed there, they're probably making minimum wage. If you would like to tip them, do you? But again, these things are the jobs that we signed up for. Controversial, I know.
Tipping culture is getting out of hand now in America. I'm going to call it what I like to call an epidemic. I'm at the coffee shop recently. I ordered my coffee black, right? I was not loved as a child, so that's why I do that. But the lady takes it, puts it from the pot.
Okay, I love black coffee. I was loved as a child for most of my childhood.
In the coffee cup, no problem. Flips the screen around and says, hey, it's going to ask you a couple questions. And I said, oh, is it now? Because I know you know the question it's going to ask. I know the question. We all know it. You're not fooling anyone. Not everything deserves a tip. I went to go get new tires on my truck, and they literally had the screen turn around and had the audacity to say, would you like to tip? And I said,
tires cost so much money. I got a great deal like 10 years ago for $400 for all 4 of my tires at the Costco, okay? He looks like he's in a big car. Mine is a tiny little car. He probably paid $1,000+ for his tires. And then as for a tip, $100 tip minimum?
No, not at all. The only thing that screen should be saying is, Is this total correct? Did we price gouge you for these tires? Yes, you did.
Funny but true. I click no tip with zero shame. I have gotten to that point too. Do not have shame for it. Just have what your boundaries are and don't cross them. There is still gonna be people out there who's gonna tip no matter what. Some people are also out here tipping more than 20%, which is crazy to me. But if you are, right, again, if you get phenomenal service, feel free to tip whatever you want, whatever you want. I haven't made 100% tips once, but that's because I got a discount or the person was super kind to me and like went out of their way. And it was a small purchase. So like a $5 coffee, I'm like, I'm gonna tip $5, right? So that's where I've been a little overzealous on my tipping.
I just spent a week in Europe, France and Spain in particular, for all the Europeans who really don't like you just saying Europe, I guess. But I am leaving feeling very confused as to what I was supposed to be tipping on and what I was not supposed to be tipping on while I was there. I understand that servers at restaurants are supposed to be getting paid a living wage and you don't need to tip. Regardless, I still tipped most meals, at least 10%. But I'm more confused about tipping on services like Uber rides, taxi rides, people getting your bags, people setting up a pool chair for you, things like that. At one restaurant, we received particularly bad service and I did not tip, and I didn't really feel bad about it like I would have in the States. Service as bad as like it took an hour to get drinks after we ordered them. But it felt to me like the taxi drivers were expecting tips. I think I usually tipped around 15 to 20% on taxi and Ubers. Our last Uber to the airport was exceptionally nice and I tipped him 25%. But then there were random things that in America you definitely do tip, like guys getting your bags for you at the hotel, where in Europe it seemed like they really were not expecting it at all and they were very grateful to get anything. So can someone tell me, are you supposed to be tipping on these random services in Europe, or are you not tipping on anything?
You don't understand that it's not that we don't like you saying Europe, it's that just saying Europe is usually inaccurate when you're talking about customs and cultural aspects that are likely to be specific to different countries. Exactly. Tipping, again, as I was saying, in Albania it seems to be like max 10%, or they just don't want you to do it at all. And that was just in the cities that I was in. Again, Albania is a big country. They even have like different dialects, so I would assume they have different cultural customs in different parts, right? Bulgaria, here in Sofia, it's like, it seems to be 10% is what you should do. That's what I read online on Reddit. Maybe I'm not correct in that. If you're a Bulgarian, please let me know. Czech Republic, again, it's like 10%, 15%. Again, if you want to say they're above and beyond and you're in the city center of Prague, you're in Prague at least. So you can't say Europe, it's all the same. I know more Germanic countries, they're more inclined to tip similar to Americans, but not really. You guys aren't really tipping like Americans, like the 20%, but you will be tipping typically for most of your meals is what, from what I've gathered, like in the Netherlands, Germany, like in the Netherlands or Germany.
Just asked me for a tip.
Yeah.
But I took the order myself.
Yeah, I know.
And it's to go.
Yep.
But I still have to leave a tip.
Yeah, you do. Make sure to leave a tip.
What, bring back my car?
Yeah, they took care of it while you were gone.
They just parked it, that's what I'm paying the parking fee for.
You still have to leave a tip.
What percentage this time?
Usually $20 is the job.
$20? You should ask to leave a tip for them handing me a paper towel.
Yeah, that's pretty common here.
Yeah, but I could have done it myself.
I know, but he was being nice, so you didn't have to.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to tip for that.
Well, you should have.
I just got asked to leave a tip even though I picked it out myself.
Yeah, always have to tip.
Yeah, but they didn't make it. It's just a bottle of water.
Yeah, but you got it from their store.
Yeah, and that's why I'm paying the price. Why would I leave a tip on top of that?
Because you're in the US.
I just served myself and still got asked to leave a tip.
Yeah, you should be used to this by now.
So you have to tip for literally everything here?
Yeah.
Why?
Because
I'm not tipping if I go to America. This is where I draw the line because it's still a customary thing. In your country, fine. If you don't tip, okay, but at least leave something. In America, like 10% if you're a European. Not tipping at all, just kind of, I know there's like this beef online, or at least on TikTok and Instagram, where Europeans love to make fun of us and kind of be mean to us, and then we're mean back, and then they're like, well, at least, you know, our kids are safe in schools, and then we're like, whoa, time out. You don't need to be cruel about it. If you expect us to adhere to your customs, right, there might not be those tipping customs, but there's other customs that you have to adhere to, right? Like, I'm not going to tell a grandma who just cuts in front of me in a grocery line to get to the back, because that seems to be custom in the Balkans. Like, I've never had so many people cut in line in front of me, older people, elderly people, and it's only been like one older man and then like three women, older women, like old, like grandma women cut in front of me. They don't even ask, they just do it. And apparently that's normal because, you know, it's like show respect to your elders. But in America, that would not fly, especially if you're on the East Coast. That grandma would get, you know, maybe a beat down. I don't know. So don't try that in America. Like, just learn basic things for the country you're going to and just adhere to them. You can do the bare minimum. Just do a 10% tip. So how do you feel about tipping culture? Are you, you know, that standard 20% tipper, minimum or more? Are you someone who's like, I'm gonna get away with the bare minimum of 10%? Do you even tip at all when you sit down at a restaurant, go out? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe if you want more videos like this, and I'll see you in the next one.